Hey BookTube, welcome back. I'm Winx, and the ink I'm talking about today is my Q&A as well as announcing the winner of my giveaway. If you missed my video from a few weeks back, I recently hit 3,000 subscribers on my channel, which thank you all again for that, and I wanted to celebrate this, so I decided to do a Q&A video as well as a giveaway. And the giveaway is for one of the summer boxes from Book Bath Box, which was themed after my channel because it was the 1-year anniversary of starting it, and it started from a video I did, so that was fun. Anyway, I'm just going to jump right into it because I have quite a few questions to go through and I'm really excited to answer them. Also, apologies if I mispronounce any of your names while going through this. Unintentional. The first question is from Therese Lindmark, and it is, if you were a dragon, what kind of dragon would you be? This is a tough question because I love dragons, but I don't think too much about what I would be if I were a dragon. I tend to think more of if I had a dragon companion or something like that. So this is the tough one. I feel like I would be the dragon that is like the ancient dragon that lives up on the mountain and maybe like gives people its thoughts or something, but doesn't like fly around or something. I wouldn't be a destructive dragon. I would be a helpful dragon, I think. And I think I would be a lazy dragon. I think I would either be the kind of dragon that is ancient and wise or whatever people would go and see. Not that I'm necessarily ancient or wise, but one can dream. Or I think I would end up being like Glurp, and I would be almost like a dragon turned house cat. I think that's about what I would be. Yeah, so I think that's my best answer. But that's a good question. Next question is from Erin Elizabeth. And Erin would like to know, if I could only finish one series, which would it be and why? This is also a tough question. Part of me, okay, I have 3 potential answers. I'm really bad at answering questions that are asking for one thing. I usually have to give multiple answers. So either I would finish the Mary Russell series because that series is a pretty long series and it's still ongoing, so you know, it's not unreasonable to think that it would have quite a few books left in it, and there's just a special spot in my soul for that one. Or I would finish the Drista Warden series by R.A. Salvatore because that one is huge, so I would have a ton of reading left. I think at the current moment there are 30 something books in that series, so there's a lot left to read. So that one would at least give me a lot to work through and I could do rereads. Or I would finish, and this one is hard because it would only be 3 books, but the Kingkiller Chronicles series by Patrick Rothfuss, because the 3rd book is so anticipated. It's been so many years since the 2nd book came out, and just anyone who is a fan of that series knows the internal struggle of waiting for that book, but appreciating that it must be really hard to write these amazing books and wrapping up this really epic series. I get it. No hard feelings against Patrick Rothfuss for taking his time because I want it to be as awesome and magical as the other 2, but also I cannot wait for it. Yes, that it would be worth it, I think, to only finish 3 books, even though like they're big books, but only 3 books just because it's that series. Yes, so I think that's my extended answer. This next one is kind of 2 questions that I've combined here. Megan asks, what is my favorite children's book? And White to Fire asks, what was my favorite book or book series as a child? If we're talking really young, like picture books, I was a big fan of Stellaluna, and I'm actually not sure who wrote that, but I will try to remember to look that up and put it in the info. So Stellaluna was one of my favorites. If we're talking about slightly older children area, I really liked the Dear America and Royal Diary series. I believe this was published by Scholastic's Books, but they took a lot of the Royal Diary series took like Marie Antoinette or Cleopatra or notable royals from various points in history, and it was as if those people wrote a diary. And the Dear America books took Not necessarily people that, I don't even know if they were based on real people. They might have just made up a person, but people from different pivotal moments in American history. So there was one from like the Revolutionary War, there was a Pilgrims one. I can't really remember any of that. There was an Oregon Trail one, I think. There was a lot of different books like that. So, and it was, again, a diary from like a kid in those times. And I have always loved a memoir, first-person diary format book. You guys, if you have been watching, know that I am a big fan of first-person narratives in all books now. So yeah, this has been a lifelong thing of mine, and I really, really loved the both of those series. So those were good. The next question is from Shy Scadix, and they ask, which is your favorite queer-themed book? And I did actually manage to get myself to pick only one book to answer this with, and I picked The Well of Loneliness by Radcliffe Hall. This book has always been kind of a special book for me. Probably unsurprising based on the title. This book is really sad, so please keep that in mind if you're going to pick it up. I actually did a video a while back talking about this book and my connection to it and my tattoo based on it, and I will link that up top and down below if you'd like to hear more about it. Okay, Pink Druidess, which, by the way, just kudos to that handle because I love it. Pink Druidess asks, how did you get into the SFF genre? I feel like I've always kind of been into science fiction and fantasy. Growing up, I was obsessed with Star Wars and Star Trek. I used to spend every day for some amount of years playing dress up and acting out Star Trek The Next Generation episodes with my brother and our two best friends. And I was Data, in case anyone is interested. He has always had a special spot in my heart. Yeah, so I just always loved science fiction. I've also been really into fantasy, and I'm trying to think what might have been my first fantasy experience. I got into Lord of the Rings when I was in middle school, but I feel like I had read Harry Potter before then, but yeah, I've always just kind of been into those kinds of genres, and so it's just kind of been a lifelong love of mine. August asks a really great question. What did life teach you yesterday? And I actually have a good answer for this. So I'm a marketing writer, for those who don't know, it's my day job. And I had a meeting yesterday. I was supposed to have a meeting yesterday. Basically, this meeting had been rescheduled multiple times. I didn't even request this meeting. It was being requested from someone else so that I meet with them. And the meeting had been rescheduled the second or third time, and it was an early meeting. It was like an hour before I normally get into work. So I got up early, and I'm not a morning person, so I was already just having a rough start to the day. And I got in and I found out that the person I was supposed to meet was not there and wasn't planning on being in until 11 later that morning, and I was so mad about it. I was just complaining to everyone, and I was just so grumpy for the rest of the morning and into the afternoon. And then I found out later that the person I was supposed to meet was in the hospital with a bad back problem, and I felt terrible for having such a just kind of over-the-top bratty reaction to having to get up a little early when this person was in the hospital. So this was a good reminder and lesson in not judging people or situations until you know what's happening, or just remembering that in many life situations you only know about 10% of the actual situation, and there's 90% of things that are happening that have a lot of play into people's behaviors and actions, and you don't know any of them from where you're standing. So reserve judgment unless you know the actual situation. Next question is from, and I apologize, Melissa Stusloff. Do you have any animals other than your 2 cats? If not, do you have any plans to get more, and what would your dream pet be? So no, at the moment I do not have any more than my 2 cats. They are more than enough for me, and I don't necessarily have any plans to get more pets, though if I do ever move in with my girlfriend Jess, she will come along with a few pets of her own, so that would be a very full household as far as animals go, and I'm not really looking to add to that, so I have no plans in the immediate future to get any more pets. Though I do have some sort of future pet dreams. One of them is that I want to get a fluffy white cat and name it Yorick after the polar bear from the His Dark Materials trilogy, because I've just always found that to be an adorable idea and I want to see that happen at some point in my life. I've also always kind of liked the idea of getting two cats together and naming one of them Biscuits and one of them Gravy. I just think that would be really cute. Other than that, that's about as far as my my pet dreams go. Next is another kitty question, and this is from Nicole Cox, and their question is, have your kitties met Jess's kitties yet? If yes, how did it go? So this is actually a fun story. Mosa has not met either of Jess's cats, and I should preface this with, Jess has two cats. One of them is named Hero and one of them is named Biko. So Mosa has not met either of them, and Biko has not met either of my cats. But Hero and YT used to live together. I'm pretty sure I told this story in one of my previous videos, but I'll do a quick recap on it. YT was originally adopted by my old roommate, but when we were living together. So I was kind of a aunt slash co-parent to YT for a while, and my roommate at one point went on a big trip to Thailand for about a month, and so I really bonded with YT during that time, and I'm just such a homebody that I was always there with the cats, and so I got pretty attached to her. In fact, during this time I got a tattoo of YT posing as Mary Russell, so I was already really attached to my roommate's cat. And as we know, roommates are not generally a permanent situation, so a couple of years later my roommate decided to move, and she was moving actually across the country to Vermont. So as you might expect, she took YT, and as you might expect, I was really sad. But I did make my roommate promise to send me regular updates and photos, so that was helping me get by. But fast forward another couple years, and I got a message from that old roommate asking if I would like to take YT in because she needed to rehome YT as well as her other cat, Hero. So of course I took YT back in, and at the time Jess and I were just becoming friends, and she had mentioned to me how she was wanting to get a cat. I knew that Hero needed a home, so I passed along some information, and lo and behold, Jess became Hero's new parent. So that is a very long answer to your question, but yes, one of my cats has met one of Jess's cats, and it was a very lovely thing when it happened. Next question is from Sirde, and they say, if you could spend the day with an author, who would you spend your time with? I personally would choose Patrick Rothfuss. That is a great choice, and I debated stealing your answer, but then when I started to think about it a little bit more, I decided that my answer would have to be Felicia Day. She has written she's written one book, which is actually right behind me here. And her book is called You're Never Weird on the Internet, Almost. And in this book, she talks about how the web series The Guild actually was created when she started going to some writing workshop, meetup kind of things. So yes, she is indeed a writer slash author. She is a huge inspiration for me, just all the things that she's done, her place of royalty almost in the geeky internet world, and just the way that she's built up Geek and Sundry. She makes such great content, and how she's brought in all these really prolific figures in the geek world like Will Wheaton, and just formed this colossal empire of Geek and Sundry. I just love it, and I find so much motivation from it and so much encouragement from it, and it's something that I'm sort of shooting for with the Marshmallow Commonwealth, which I haven't actually mentioned on my channel yet, but Marshmallow and Mimosa and S'more Sci-Fi Book Club, Adrian and I have sort of combined them. So the Marshmallow Commonwealth is now our sort of pseudo network where we're going to have both podcasts listed, and hopefully be able to do new projects and add projects from other people, and kind of, again, modeling ourselves off of Geek and Sundry, making this fun, nerdy, collective commonwealth. Yes, so I'll put links to that down below as well. Alright, so for this next bit, I combined two questions that are seemingly unrelated, but that I have the same answer for. So the first question is from Telperion, and it is, what is your favorite book to reread? The second part is from Melissa J, and she says, just also want to thank you so much for introducing me to Mary Russell. Anytime. That is my favorite thing to do, is introduce people to Mary Russell. My question would be, what is your favorite book in the series and why? And my favorite book in the series happens to also be my favorite book to reread, and that is Oh Jerusalem. This is the 5th book in the series, so it actually takes place chronologically partway through the first book. So there's kind of a part where they just skip over an adventure that they had, and this book is the result of that. So I love this book partly because it was the first Mary Russell book I ever read. It was assigned to me in a class in college, and the teacher just sort of gave us the background that we needed for the first book to jump into this, and I just fell in love with it. And I don't know, I just love so much about it. I love the setting. I love all of the other characters that they run into. I feel like this is a really pivotal moment in the storyline of developing Mary Russell as a character and her connection to Sherlock. I just feel like so much really good stuff for the series happens in this book, and I find that the writing in it is one of the best in the series for me. Really, my 2 favorite books from the entire series so far are Oh Jerusalem and then the first book, which is The Beekeeper's Apprentice. But this is definitely my favorite one to reread. I find it just really a comforting read, and yeah, there you go. Okay, then I have another couple questions that are similar, and the first is from Fox Clouds. They say, my question is, how do you manage to balance your work, your subscription box business, this channel, and your relationship? I work full-time and I also have a booktube channel, and I relatively recently got into a relationship, and it is just too much for me at times, which results in me either skipping weeks and not filming videos or skipping writing. Truly admire all booktubers who are so successful at handling several things at the same time, and now a podcast too. That is very sweet of you. Thank you for the kind words in that. And then just to get the second question in, this is from Melissa Seng. How do you find the time to do it all? If I'm not mistaken, you have a full-time job and a health condition that can take you out of the game in a flash. So yes, I do have a chronic illness, which is fibromyalgia, and I do work full-time as a marketing writer, and that can definitely make it pretty hard to balance my channel and Book Bath Box and the podcast and all that kind of stuff. And I definitely don't foresee myself picking up too many new projects just in light of all of that. It can be a struggle, and I think it shows a little bit in my videos. I definitely have lulls where I won't post for a week, 2 weeks, a month. You know, it just kind of depends. And I used to take that a lot harder. I used to feel a lot more guilty. And whenever I came back, I would always apologize for it. And I started to realize that every time I did that, the response I always got was just really supportive, and people saying, oh, don't worry about it. Just, you know, post when you can, take care of yourself, etc., etc., which is just really lovely. And it makes me, that's the reason why I would never just stop BookTube. I love doing it. And I love the community feeling. So even if I have to disappear for a little bit, I definitely will come back. I think that I am really, really lucky. And I say this because, for one, even though I do have fibromyalgia, my symptoms are a lot more mild than some. I know some people who have it who are on disability and cannot work and have a lot more physical pain and fatigue than I do. Luckily, mine is on the milder side. So I do have flare-ups, and that results in days or weeks even where I am not able to do a whole lot, but I have figured out my symptoms and my fibromyalgia enough that I have a pretty good handle on managing my symptoms. I have a pretty good sense of when a flare is starting up and the kind of things I might be able to do to cut it short or to keep it from happening at all. When it does happen, I have a pretty good idea of what I need to do to get through it, and a lot of the things that I do project-wise are things that I can do on my laptop in bed, which is an added benefit. My work is really flexible, and I'm able to work from home a lot, which that can help both for fibromyalgia. I don't have to commute or get up and get dressed. I can stay home in my pajamas. And sometimes that little bit of extra rest is what I need to stop a flare from happening. But also it can save me an hour or two in my commute and all that. And that hour or two can be really pivotal in finishing up a project or getting Book Bath Box out the door. And yeah, so that works out really well. As far as relationships go, I conveniently work at the same company as my girlfriend. So we will often go and have little mini coffee dates where we just walk over to Starbucks together and get a late morning coffee, and that kind of lets us see each other even if we're both busy over the weekends or in the evenings or whatever. We're able to keep that contact going, and we just talk a lot online, and we'll play Guild Wars 2 together and have a G-chat combo or whatever, and we're pretty much always talking to each other even if we aren't able to go out together all the time. And she's also very helpful. Whenever Book Bath Box season comes, she very generously comes over and does manual labor, and I appreciate that quite a lot. Yeah, otherwise I say it all comes down to time management. I still have room to grow with time management. It's a skill that doesn't come totally naturally to me. I have some friends who are very, very scheduled in their lives, and that's not really my general mode, but I do try to have a pretty good schedule going. I have several Google calendars, and I schedule in my self-care time, and I schedule in different project times for whatever I need to get done in the moment, and that really helps me a lot, not just in making sure I get certain projects done, but keeping myself scheduled kind of keeps me in this constant state of motivation to keep going. The last thing I'm going to say, because this has turned into a really, really long rambling answer, I personally really am into, sorry, my eye is watering because I just went to a nursery earlier today, and that was a silly thing to do, to walk around all the plants when I have allergies to all of them. Yeah. Anyway, as I was saying, I am a big believer in the power of personal rituals, and I should expand on that just a little bit because that is a very big and mysterious thing to say. So I have certain things that I do that just really put me in the right headspace. I have a playlist that is my Fierce Lady playlist. I have some lipstick that I'm really into, which, by the way, I'm in a full Halloween is coming spoopy pumpkin spice everything mode, and so I apologize not in the least for my black sparkly lipstick today, but I have some, this is Kat Von D, by the way, but I have some other Kat Von D lipstick which is also sparkly, but it is sort of a bronzy orange, and it's called Gothica, and that is totally my like fierce halfling cleric, gonna go out and throw some magic at something lipstick. I have certain things that I wear that make me think more about time management and just stuff like that that puts me in the right way of thinking. And I think if you can, if your mind works similarly, finding those things is really, really key, because that is one thing that has really helped me in managing all the things. And that was like a 15-minute answer to one question, so it's time to move on. But thank you for that. So another question from Melissa Sang. I think I've asked this before, so sorry if it's repetitive. Is Winx a nickname or your given name? Pretty damn cool if it's actually your given name. Is there a really cool story behind it? And I just want to say that I really appreciate the phrasing of given name, because sometimes people ask me if this is my real name, and I think that there is a misconception in the world today that something that wasn't your name at birth can't be your real name. And that is completely false. If someone has a name, it is their name. It is their real name, because it's their name. I haven't actually I talked about this on the podcast, but I haven't talked about this on my channel. But Winx was not actually my given name. However, it is my real name. There isn't really a story to it. It's just something that my family started calling me when I was little, and I've identified with it, and I just eventually made it my legal name because it is the name that I identify with. However, I do want to say that if something is not your legal name, that also does not mean it's not your real name. Getting your name changed costs money. You have to go to the court, you have to file for it, you have to change your license and all these different things, and so not everyone is in a position to have the resources to make that happen. Does not mean that your name is not your real name. So that is my thoughts on names. Yes. Then Melissa Sang has a third question. Thank you for all the questions. And this question is, How do you go about selecting the books for your boxes? I'm new to the genre. Do you look at bestseller lists, or are they books that have some sort of special meaning to you? That is also a good question. So I have my own little system that I use for picking out books. I don't go to bestseller lists just because I try not to get books that I think everyone will already have bought or read. I want to try and get something new to as many people as possible. Just because I think it would be kind of a bummer to open the box and get something that you've already read. I know it's going to happen to some people, but you know, I'm going to try to limit that. So one of the things I try to do is I go to Goodreads and I look at how many ratings there are for a book. If a book has more than 5,000, it's usually not something I'm going to pick. I have fudged that a little bit, and actually the first book that I sent out in the first box that was, I think there was like 15,000. I hadn't quite made the rule for it in that first box, but yeah, so I usually try to go not more than 5,000 reviews, and if it is over 5,000, only very minimally over 5,000. So that's kind of rule number one. One of the key things is that I have to have read the book and I have to have enjoyed the book. I don't send out any items that I don't personally find to be a really good quality item, including the books. So yeah, first I have to read it, and it has to be at least a 4 or 5 star book for me. And then of course I look at the average star rating, and it doesn't have to be a 5 star, but I just kind of want to confirm that other people like the book. It's not just me, because you know, sometimes I might like something and everybody else hates it. Maybe I have the unpopular opinion. So I try to factor that in as well. I do consider a few other things. I'm generally, of course, trying to think of what theme I might put together and why this book might be a fun one to make a box around. And because this box is meant for relaxation and self-care, I try not to pick anything that is too gruesome or stressful or potentially triggering or anything like that. So you know, there are a few things to consider when I'm picking it out to find the perfect book for a box. Yeah, and it's a challenge, but it has resulted in me discovering a lot of really fun new books and authors, and I really enjoy doing that. So there you go. Next question. Megan Stewart asks, I was wondering if you have any favorite bath products, and if so, what they are. So yes, I would say I have quite a few. I in fact have probably too many favorites, but I broke this down into 4 items in 2 categories. I told you guys, I can't come up with just one item to answer with for pretty much anything. So first category is more commercial brands. The first of which is from Lush, which I'm sure many of you have heard of. They have such great bath bombs and bubble bars, and I have probably spent way too much money there. And it used to be my favorite bath bomb from there was the Dragon's Egg bath bomb. I still really like that, but in the winter time they have a seasonal bath bomb that's called Shoot for the Stars, and I love this bath bomb. So it's got kind of a citrusy smell and a really pretty blue color for the majority of it, but then there are some stars in the bath bomb that are made of oil, so they kind of float around, and you actually get this kind of night sky with yellow stars thing happening. It's really nice. Yeah, I think that is my favorite Lush bath bomb at the moment. My other main go-to sort of commercial brand is Bath & Body. Many of us love the Bath & Body. And my favorite from there is a liquid bubble bath, which is the Beautiful Day scent. I've tried a few of theirs, but this one is just really so lovely. I like fruity smells in bath products a lot, I've noticed. But yeah, this one is really nice. It's got a nice kind of sour apple note to it, but also this nice sweetness. I just find it's the perfect scent for bubble bath. Love it. The other 2 favorites of mine I'm currently out of, but I need to work my way through a few of the other bath products in my collection before I order more. So the first one is the Critical Hit Bath Bomb from Fictitious Fragrances. And this one again has sort of a sweet citrusy smell to it. I really like the smell of this one. The color is nice. I have others that I like more, but the really great thing about this bath bomb is that inside there is a D20. So I just love that. It's so adorable. So yeah, it's a nice D&D themed bath bomb. And then my final pick is a bath bomb from Key, and I actually sent out one of their bath bombs in the spring book bath box, which was the Northern Lights bath bomb. It was this really pretty dark blue, some greens and purples in there, very spacey and stuff. But they have one that's like Northern Lights plus plus, and that one is amazing. It's called Universe, and it makes the water a similar blue, green, purple kind of color, but it's so dark it's almost black, and there's all of this like body safe glitter in it, and it's just amazing. Just every time I use it, I love it. I would have actually sent that one out in the book bath boxes, except they only had it in the like jumbo size, and it wouldn't have physically fit in the box with the other stuff. But that one is really an experience if you're into glitter. If you're not, this one's not for you. Unicorn Hunter Books asks, who are your favorite villains in books, shows, whatever? I don't know if I have specifically a favorite villain, but I do have a favorite villain type. I love when an author makes a villain that you can relate to. So sometimes it's in a sort of extreme way, like the villain in Nimona. I can't think of his name, but he's basically like you're on his side throughout the whole book, or kind of in a similar way, Dr. Horrible from Dr. Horrible's Sing Along blog. You're seeing their side of things very clearly, but I've also seen this done. Robin Hobb is a really great author for this. A lot of her villains are people that you hate them. I mean, Kyle Haven aside, because he has no excuse, but like Kenneth in the Live Ship Traders trilogy, he does these terrible things, but you are seeing such a deep view into his mind and the reason he's doing these things that you almost see how he's rationalizing it, and you feel sad for him, and I don't know, there's just, it makes you so conflicted because you can't just hate the person. Kind of a similar thing in Game of Thrones, where there aren't a whole lot of characters that are strictly good or strictly bad. They're these complex beings that do good things or bad things, and sometimes just a little bit more of the bad or a little bit more of the good. And so you're seeing them as these complex beings, and you can understand and see the journey a bit of how they got to the place that they did. And that is amazing writing to me when someone can do that, and I always really appreciate that. Joe Reed says, my question is, if you could only pick 3 types of tea to drink, which would you choose? And that is very tough because I love tea. So I had to think a lot about this. The first one is easy because I just have to have Earl Grey. That is my go-to tea. If I'm drinking tea, I love Earl Grey, and I don't think I could live without it. So that's number 1. I thought I'd picked out the other 2, but afterwards I realized I was missing one really important category, so I had to add in a 4th. But for my second pick, I like to have something with a little spice to it. So I was debating on some type of chai, but really if I'm going for spice, I want the hot cinnamon spice from Harney & Sons. You just can't compare. I love chai, don't get me wrong, and I frequently drink chai, but this would have to be my choice if I could only pick one. I don't drink herbal teas nearly as often as I do some sort of caffeinated tea, but I've always had a really strong attachment to Raspberry Zinger by Celestial Seasonings. This has been one of my favorite teas since I was a kid, and it's really satisfying and soothing to me, and I don't think I could give this one up, so this was going to be my 3rd one. But then I was suddenly reminded of a category of tea that I don't think I could do without. I was reminded of this because my poor girlfriend has been sick for the last week with a cold, and cold care tea is a very important thing. When you are sick, that is the only thing that matters in life. So I need to add in something of that form. My two go-tos are the Singer's Blend Rooibos from Townsend's Tea, and Stephanie from Time to Read actually gave me this, and I had never had it before, and I love it, so thank you, Stephanie. My other main go-to pick is the Gypsy Cold Care Tea from Traditional Medicinals. If I had to only have one of them, I would probably go for this, just because this one is really great for like a laryngitis kind of tight throat, whereas this one seems to soothe like my whole sinus situation when I'm sick. But yes, I feel like us tea fans sometimes forget to give some love to the cold care teas of the world, and they are very important. Angela McCallan says, my question is a really bad one. I disagree, Angela. But what is your favorite bookish item / merch? This was a good question. This was a tough one because there's a lot of things that I really like that are little random bookish items I picked out. But I decided that I had to go with this one, which is my Time Turner necklace from Harry Potter, Hermione's Time Turner necklace. And I like this because obviously I love Harry Potter, so that's kind of, you know, number one. But this is actually the item that I alluded to earlier when I was talking about things I wear to remind myself about time management. Whenever I have a really busy day and I know that I just need to be on my game, I'll wear this necklace, and it makes me feel like I am a time lord. I'm mixing mythologies here, but I have mastery, magical mastery over time. And it just kind of keeps me from panicking about a busy schedule and helps me just keep in that mode and remember not to fall into watching a bunch of videos or reading for much longer than I planned, just to kind of keep on top of all of my tasks and get things done. So I'm going to go with that. KitKat314159 says, if you could be any kind of mug, what kind of mug would you be? I had to think about that for a minute because, similar to the dragon question, I hadn't really given this much thought, but I decided that I would be somewhat like this mug. This mug is small, but it can still hold a decent cup of caffeinated beverage, and it's got these little cute polar bears on it, and it's like a wintertime mug, so it's just very cozy, and I feel like this kind of represents my general aesthetic of, like, I enjoy little cute things and cozy self-care time, and I'm small. That's about all I got. J Hart Loves Books says, my question is, what has been your favorite box to make for Book Bath Box? Another good question. I tend to always feel like the last box I made is the ultimate best box I've made so far. And I really do have a soft spot in my heart for the summer box, because it is the anniversary box and I put a lot of sort of personal touches to this one. But as far as sort of an experience, I think I will always really love having done the last autumn box, autumn 2016, which was my second box, but I had a really great interaction where I got to work really directly with G. Derek Adams, who is the author of the book that I chose for that box, Asteroid Made of Dragons. I had enjoyed his book and done a little mini review for it, and this led to us sort of connecting on the internets. And so I let him know I was going to use his book in the box, and he ended up helping me a ton. He sent me some swag to send out in the box, which I think really just brought it to another level than what it could have been. And yeah, just everything worked out so well. I got to work with Inkshares, which is a great company. I really enjoyed working with them. I definitely plan to continue working with them on future boxes. Yeah, I feel like I made so many really lovely connections in that box. Also, I got to send out those pumpkin spice moonstruck truffles, and I know they got a little bit melty to some of you, but I think everybody who got them really enjoyed them, and I was super duper excited to share them because they are my favorite. So yeah, for all of those reasons, I think that box will always have a very special spot in my heart. And the final question, I can't wait to see how long this video is whenever I actually sit down to edit it. Swarna Aksha asks, if you can be a fictional character, which would it be? And that is also a tough question. I feel like a lot of the books that I read have pretty tragic storylines, so I don't know that I actually envy too many characters, but I'm going to twist this around a little bit. I have mentioned before that I've been playing Dungeons and Dragons, and my character in Dungeons and Dragons is Tula, who is a halfling cleric, which there's kind of some back and forth happening here because I identify as a halfling cleric a lot in my life just because I'm short and I like self-care, but that also comes from having played a halfling cleric in my very first MMO in EverQuest 2, and this has now transferred over to making Tula the halfling cleric in D&D, and now I'm taking it back and saying I would love to be her in real life because she is fun to play, and she has a trickster deity, and so she does a lot of fun roguish things, and it's kind of just ridiculous, and I have fun with her, so I'm gonna go with that. That's probably not the answer you were looking for, but there you go. So that is the last answer to a giant ramble of answers, and hopefully somebody is still watching because I'm going to now pick the winner for the giveaway. So I'm just going to use one of those random YouTube comment picker things, and here we go. Okay, and oh, I know you. The winner is Kelly Grant. I follow you on Twitter. So yes, Kelly, I will get in contact with you and get your information, and I will send you one of these boxes. So hopefully you will enjoy it. And thank you all so much for all of your questions, for entering the giveaway, for all of your support, and for subscribing, because that is the thing we are celebrating, and I'm still just so honored and humbled that so many of you have clicked that button to subscribe. And yeah, hopefully I will have some new videos coming out soon. I am putting together the autumn book bath boxes now, so as usual, that will probably take over my life a bit in the coming weeks. Hopefully you will see me around though. So definitely, again, check out Marshmallow Commonwealth and the podcast that I've been working on with Adrian Tilley. Check out the S'more Sci-Fi Book Club on Goodreads, all of those things, and leave me some comments down below to talk about all the different things that I just rambled about. Do you have thoughts on that? Let's chat. Yes, okay, I'm getting a little too slap happy now, so thank you all so much for watching. Please like this video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe if you'd like to see more. I hope you're all having a wonderful week so far, and I will talk to you soon. Bye!